Welcome back to the Reckless Recover. My name is Greyson Grimes, and today we have the most amazing guest, the most beautiful guest we will ever have on this podcast. Her name is Leah Campanella, and she's here with us today. Thank you, honey, for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So on the podcast, the Reckless Recover, as you kind of already know, because you're all up in my life, right? We talk about redemption stories, and you have probably one of the most gnarliest stories I've ever heard in my life. And there's no better person to have on the podcast to talk about what it means to get clean, sober, and get a new life, because your life is a total miracle. You've gone to hell and back to be where you're at today. And I am so grateful, first of all, to just be a part of your life first and foremost. And you're my best friend. And I love seeing what you get to do with your life today, knowing where you've come from. Leah, you're from Spokane, Washington.
Yeah.
Spokane, Boone Street Killers. So Leah's from Spokane, Washington. You come from a really nice family. And let's start from the beginning.
Oh, gosh.
When did you first find yourself in the grips of addiction?
I started like smoking weed and dabbling in alcohol and stuff like that when I was like 15 or 16. And then it just slowly progressed from there.
And what was your drug of choice?
Meth and heroin.
Meth and heroin. Okay. And when you decided to get clean and sober, right? I know that it wasn't just a aha moment for you, really. It was a journey, because you went to treatment. How many times were you in treatment?
Probably upwards of 10 times.
10 times, right? And you had a very unique time, your last time in treatment, which we'll get into later. But like you said, you started off with dabbling with marijuana and alcohol, and then you eventually graduated to opiates and meth, right? What was that window like? How long did it take you to get to that point? And what was it, gradual or was it sudden?
Yeah, so it was pretty gradual in the beginning, but when it happened, it hit extremely hard. When I was dabbling in weed and alcohol, it was just for the party, everybody else is doing it. But I always knew that I didn't like alcohol because it didn't get me to where I wanted to be fast enough. And I would always get sick before I could get there. So I was always like the friend that was puking in the backyard, like someone's holding my hair, And so then I found ecstasy, and that was the beginning of the end.
Okay.
I started doing ecstasy recreationally, and it quickly turned into like a weekly thing. And then in Spokane, there was like a dry spell of ecstasy at a certain point. Like that had gone on for a couple of years, maybe like a year at this point. And there was a dry spell in Spokane. And so the next best thing to find was meth. And that spiraled extremely quickly too.
Yeah.
I knew that I had arrived the first time I tried meth.
Did you smoke it the first time? Okay.
Yeah, I smoked it with one of my friends that lived across the street, which I didn't know she was over there.
Yeah.
And
you didn't know she lived across the street from you?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, okay.
I had another friend that introduced me to her, and I was like, oh, this has been here all along.
Yeah.
Why didn't I find this earlier?
Do you feel like you found it, or do you feel like it found you?
I think I found it for sure. I think about this a lot, where it's like I've heard of people's stories where they feel guilty for showing somebody or introducing somebody to meth or whatever, and their life becomes ruined or whatever. And I'm like, I just don't really believe that that's how that works,
So you're saying you feel like people who get high with somebody for the first time, or they show them the drug for the first time, they feel responsible for getting them hooked?
Yeah, and that's just so not.
I've never once blamed Talty for giving me my first rip of heroin.
No, and I never did either. I just I've also just heard that, like, in sobriety and recovery, or not even that, just, like, even when you're out there, people are like, "I feel so guilty," and it's like, "You're not that fucking important, dude."
So did your family find out right, because you're living at home, right, with your parents?
Yeah.
Okay. So did you go home to split out of your mind, or
Yeah, so me and my friend went over to our new friend's house.
we make new friends when we start
We
doing
ain't new
drugs, don't
friends,
we?
yeah,
Yeah.
and we went back to my house and, like, stayed up all night, but we were just, like, keeping it cool, dude, like, as
Yeah.
cool as you can be when you're on methamphetamine, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
But we were up all night, and my parents were sleeping across the hall,
Mhm.
and, like, my friend was just spending the night because we were still in school, and, like, the next day
How
was
old were you?
I
16?
wanna say I was, like, 16 or 17, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and we had school the next day. And
Mhm.
I remember we had an assembly the next day, and I was like, "How are we gonna, like, do this? Like, I'm not gonna be able to
Yeah.
make it." And
You're
she
gonna
was
hold the
like,
assembly.
yeah,
Yeah.
seriously. But I was like, "We're gonna stay up all night. How are we gonna, whatever?" And she was like, "I have an Adderall. We'll split an Adderall tomorrow, and we'll be good for the rest of the day." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." So we did that. And I remember sitting at that assembly just, like, so gone, dude. And, like, I fucking loved it, and I couldn't wait to do it again, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I had no worries in the world. I didn't think anybody knew, and my parents didn't know for
Yeah.
quite a while, actually, which was surprising.
How long? Like months, weeks?
Couple months.
Wow. So at that point in time, you still had a roof over your head, right? You
Mhm,
still had you were incognito, right,
mhm.
with it. Where did that all fall apart?
Oh I remember one night I went home and I was high. I had been out with, like, I don't even know who I was out with at this point, but I had gone home and I was super just so high on meth. And I started getting really bad anxiety and I was, like, sitting in my bedroom all by myself, like, couldn't go to sleep, and just struggling. And then I went into my mom's room and woke her up and was like, "Hey, I need to talk to you." And I took her into the dining room and I was like, "Hey, so I'm on meth."
While you
And,
were high?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was like, this is, like, maybe one of my
Gosh.
first ever attempts at just being like, there's a problem."
Yeah.
And, I told her that I was on meth, and she was like, "What is that?" She, like, had no idea. And I was like, "I don't really know what I need you to do, but I need you to not tell dad for sure," which of course she did. But,
Mhm.
so she sat me down in the dining room and, like, made me eat a burrito because I hadn't eaten in, like, 2 weeks maybe at this point.
Yeah.
And, I don't really think that anything had happened. She didn't really know what to do with that information, you know? Um, and I think at that point she had thought that it was, like, just something that I tried, a couple times and there was no issues. And I was kind of at that point too where I was like, "Oh, this isn't a problem,"
Yeah, I could stop.
Yeah,
Totally.
like, this is just a fun little phase that I'm
Mhm.
going through,
Yeah.
And that eventually just spiraled out of control,
You had mentioned that your mom, she didn't really know what to do.
Mhm.
It's really common for that, with people who we kind of align ourselves with in recovery. We're the bunch of people who used to do drugs and drink to oblivion, right? So we hear that a lot about families when they first find out because at the time you're still their like little girl, like
Mhm.
you're like still the princess of the house. And then even for me with my family, I was a pastor's kid, right? So I was a little church singer kid,
Mhm.
and I'm coming home blitzed or, you know,
Yeah,
cops following me home, all that stuff. So,
the
if
usual.
the usual stuff. So at that point in time, I feel like, because I know your family really well now, and it seems as though they're always trying to learn and trying to understand more. What direction would you give people who are listening to this podcast? Maybe their parents are in that place, where there's something, not that you and I or you wish your mom would have done something different, but if you could give any type of direction or assistance to families out there who are going through this with their kids,
Mhm.
what's something that you would say to them?
In my experience, when my parents stopped enabling me, um, and continued to let things get really bad for me, was the best blessing that I could have ever asked for, because with help, I would have stayed out a lot longer, you know? Um,
Yeah, because parents, it's unnatural to like do something, right? Because they want to intervene and be like, no, I'll save you or I'll protect you from this. And a lot of us who are addicts were really far gone from any help from our families a lot of the time, right?
right.
And it just comes in a different form than we're used to, like the help, right?
Yeah.
And so even for us who are in recovery, we see it all the time how families intervene and cause more harm than good,
Mhm.
right? Because and there's no judgment on that. It's exactly what to expect. Hey, my child is suffering. How
Mhm.
can I relieve this suffering from them?
Mhm.
You know? And I've mentioned on the podcast before, there's a lot of parents, and we've actually known parents who've lost their kids
Mhm.
to overdoses and suicides from a lot of it stemming from the struggle with addiction.
Mhm.
And that's why I always like to ask that question, because we're the only ones that can really say what worked out best for us or what helped us the most. And I'd say the same thing.
Mhm.
The second my family started to put boundaries up and say no, is when I was able to first see my situation for what it really is.
Mhm.
The more of their help that they put into my life, which is more like an enablement, making it easier, making me or helping me able to stay high longer, keeping me in their life doesn't mean um that it's going to turn out like the way that I want it. Usually keeping me in their life means I'm going to steal, take advantage of them, you know,
Yeah.
get away with whatever I can to still keep getting high.
Yeah.
And I think it comes from, and maybe this is too harsh, but I think it comes from a place where they think that our love is still there for them the way that it was before,
Mhm.
which it is, but we've put something before that love.
Mhm.
That obsession and that craving is so intense that okay, I love my parents, but right now, the only love that I want to give to anything is to
Mhm.
these drugs I'm putting in me, right?
Yeah.
So, what did that look like for you this time when you got clean? Did your parents started putting up boundaries, stopped, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I would say so, at the age of 17, my parents got divorced. And it was kind of like, "Oh, okay, cool, like, I have 2 sides now that I can kind of play
Mm,
however I need to." But that didn't really work in my favor, actually. It worked against it, but, so they agreed, like, separately to not enable me anymore. My mom, was always there when I would call and say, like, "Hey, I need a place to sleep tonight," or whatever. They would let me come home and sleep off whatever I was doing for the last month or so. But I also wasn't allowed to stay there. So I could come sleep it off, take a shower, get some food, and then go back out and do my running. Um, but that still gave me that sense of like security that I needed to go out on the streets and be like, "Oh, but I have somewhere else to go after this," you know? Or if everything crumbles down and I have nowhere else to go and I'm sick and dope sick and broke, then I can go home, you know? And when they took that away, it was just me in the streets, dude, you know? Like
yeah.
straight up. Like
Yeah.
I didn't have really anybody out there. I mean, I had friends that would take me in,
Yeah.
you know. No, but
Yeah.
I had friends.
Yeah.
But I also do have friends now too that are sober now, you
Yeah.
know, that were using then that really, really saved me out there, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if where I would be without a lot of them, you know?
Yeah.
But as for my parents, when they completely stopped, you know, letting me come home
Hmm.
and stopped buying me cigarettes
Hmm.
and stopped giving
Yeah.
me 20 bucks when I really needed it.
Yeah.
It was just me on my own trying to figure it out, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and
So,
thank God for that.
yeah, I wasn't I wasn't expecting to get emotional on my
On the
podcast.
pod.
No, I was like, this was a mistake. I'm just kidding, no. Because I already know all this stuff and I know even more than probably what you're sharing, but just thinking sometimes, looking at you and knowing um like how incredible you are, and knowing how difficult I know it was for you. And it's easy for us to look at addicts on the street and say, man, that's tough.
Yeah.
Right. But then I think if the general public spent more time learning about us, or listening to these stories and
Mhm.
realizing, you know, a lot of us are out there making choices and living a lifestyle that is nearly almost impossible to get out of.
Yeah.
And the fact that you interact with people every single day and they have no idea what you've gone through to still be here is like, and I'm experiencing it even right now, knowing you. Like,
Mhm.
I know that we come from dark places, and I know a lot about your dark places. And sometimes when you talk about it, it's like it's hard because um I just wish I wish it didn't have to be so gnarly for you, you know?
It had to be though.
I
It
know.
had to be.
Yeah, and I think that, like, even because you know a lot about me too.
Yeah.
Um but man, if people could just see how, if people could step outside of their comfort zone a little bit and really learn about how people do find recovery, I think that people would have less like judgment and less, um, you know, you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I think that like a really big roadblock and a problem that I faced was I did not understand the concept of what an alcoholic was, or what alcoholism was, or
Yeah.
addiction was. I really just thought that drugs and alcohol are my problem. I have a problem with drugs and alcohol. Like I really believed that because
Mhm.
that's all I knew about it. I
Mhm.
wasn't educated on it. Same with my mom. I remember standing in the kitchen with my mom probably like 2 years in to my addiction. And at this point, like she knows everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I could just stop doing heroin, like everything will be okay. And I like firmly believed that. And I think that's what a lot of people believe that aren't educated on addiction and alcoholism, because it's like, oh, that person chose to like do this and now they're addicted. And it's like, no, that person actually has a mental illness.
Mhm.
And yeah, they may have chosen to do that drug, but didn't know that they were going to release a craving beyond their mental control that they wouldn't be able to stop until they find a spiritual way.
Mhm.
And for me, going into treatment, for the first couple times, it was like, "Oh, I just go into treatment and I do these things and then I'm better." And, like, I did not understand why that was not working. I
Mhm.
didn't get it, and neither did my parents because, like,
We sent you to treatment. We're
"Yeah, we
supposed to
sent you to
fix you.
treatment, you're supposed to be good," and I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know what's happening either." Like, I really didn't understand the mental obsession or the phenomenon of craving until the second to last time I went to treatment, and I always say when I share at meetings and stuff, it's like, nobody told me that this was the case, but I'm pretty sure everybody told me, but I wasn't willing to listen, or I wasn't listening yet.
Mhm.
And so when I finally like heard that and I was like, "Oh, that kind of makes sense as to why I can't fucking stop." You know?
Mhm.
And then I started reading the book and seeing myself in these pages, right? And it's like, "Oh, there's an answer to why I can't stop." Like, I can stay sober for 60, 90, whatever, 6
Mhm.
months, but I still am an asshole if I'm not working on that, and I still have a mental craving beyond my control. Um, and I think that that was the turning point to me actually being able to work on my problem, which was me.
So I think that leads into a really good segment for us to talk about, because treatment is looked at by a lot of people. Oh, this will address all my issues. Or family says, fix my kid, or
Mhm.
please fix my dad, my mom.
Mhm.
or like we heard earlier, my uncle, right?
Mhm.
And we both know that we might have gotten it eventually, maybe,
Mhm.
maybe. Um, but we needed like this bridge, right? Like this time where I was separated from this lifestyle where people understood me, people could give me tools and stuff like that and treatment, which were great. But like you said, it doesn't address the core issue, which is me. Like
Mhm.
I have this massive hole in my soul that I fill with drugs and alcohol, and I do it every single day, all the time because one time it worked, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
now I'm constantly chasing that thing to fill that. And
Mhm.
so with treatment, it's a really big topic because people think, well, I'll go to treatment and I'll get this thing sorted. And then they actually stop believing in stuff like that because they don't do any of the other work.
Yeah.
And not every alcoholic or addict agrees with what we believe, right? Because you and I are
Mhm.
very like, we're on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
But the reason why we're able to stay stopped and have a new life and a new purpose is because of Alcoholics Anonymous, right? And we found a 12-step program that worked for us, right? So treatment is a big part of that because for me at least, I can only speak for myself, but I went to treatment, detox, res, PHP. I did the whole dance, right? But people took me to a meeting, right?
Mhm.
That place took me to a meeting, and the meetings is where I stayed.
Mhm.
And I had already done treatment several times before with no avail. I mean, at some point, I started convincing myself that drugs are my problem and I can drink, right? And then
Mhm.
drinking becomes like a total nightmare. I mean,
Mhm.
crazy. Like, um, I convinced myself I can just smoke weed or I could take prescription pills. And so we've learned through trial and error that I needed a purpose beyond what I could understand. And like you said, I went to meetings and was totally closed off to the conception of having a spiritually based life, right?
Mhm.
So let's talk about the misconceptions about treatment, right? So what do you believe treatment can do for somebody and what do you believe it can't do?
Treatment can provide a safe
Mhm.
environment for me to detox and heal from the open wounds that you walk into treatment with,
Yeah.
directly from the streets, right? Or wherever you come from. But for me, it was like fresh off the streets of Spokane, you know?
Yeah.
And so treatment provides a safe place for me to stay stopped long enough to see the damage that I've done and see what I have to mend. Um, I think it's really important to have those safe people in treatment, like therapists and case managers and all of that good stuff, and doctors that you work with closely and you actually follow their protocols because
Yeah.
I don't do that on my own, right? So it's a place to get well enough to then say, okay, these are the next steps that I need to take when I leave. For me, before though, when I was going into treatment, I thought that you just like go there and they do some weird voodoo shit on you and then you're like fixed. And so the last time, like going into treatment, it was like, this isn't gonna fucking work, you know?
Yeah. And so it's so funny. So I want to clarify. I got emotional earlier because I underestimated having the love of my life on the podcast. But you said something. You said because I said it's, and all I was trying to tell you is that it's weird stepping away from like us to have
Mhm.
this conversation because I've
Yeah.
heard you speak and I've heard your story like more than probably anyone. Uh, um, but to separate myself just for a moment to see like, and I just know you, and I just want you to know too that you will never run out of, you will never in your life run out of purpose to help people with your story. You have a story that could be um helpful for anyone. I don't care
Mhm.
what they've gone through. And I am super super proud of you for consistently doing the hard things that most people that we know and most people um, aren't able or willing to do. and you're a miracle. Just want to tell you that.
Thanks.
So others might have separate experiences from us, which is awesome and great, and we love that. But from what we've gone through, we think that treatment is a really essential tool for people, right?
Mhm.
Like you said, coming off the street, getting kind of a place of sanctuary for a moment, learning about a little bit of self-care.
Mhm.
And then there's usually more work to be done, right?
Mhm.
And I've talked to you about this and other people sidebarring, but I truly believe there's two different types of people who abuse substances. I believe there's like people who are dependent upon a substance, and there's like addicts,
Mhm.
right? And my perspective of it is that dependents are people, because drugs are addictive, right?
Mhm.
And some people fall into that addiction, like partying too hard in college, or get in a car wreck and take, opiates and get hooked on, or have a back surgery. The stories are endless of
Mhm.
people can become dependent. And you and I have seen people come through drug court, people who have DUIs, try to go to 12-step programs, and they actually get the court card signed, and sometimes we hear about them doing really great and learning how to drink, in a normal way, right?
Mhm.
So there's two different sides of this, and I want to make sure that people understand on this podcast that we're really talking to people who don't know, right?
Mhm.
People who really just don't understand.
Mhm.
I've gone on treatment. I've lost everything. I don't have a job anymore. I'm living in my car, and I can't seem to find myself finding it. Like, there's people in the middle. And that's what I want to
Mhm.
talk about. There's people who might have dependency issues for a while, and people who've also been to treatment and been called an addict, right? You talked about the fact that it's not really about the drugs and alcohol for you, right? It's something more than that.
Yeah.
Tell me in your experience, like how you navigated those in betweens, and you know, what encouragement could you give somebody who might be in between those things? Like, I don't know if I'm an addict. I don't know if I'm just, depressed, or because we hear all the things all the time.
Yeah.
So how did you navigate that? And what do you mean by it was more than just drugs and alcohol?
The second to last time I went to treatment, I came out here. My parents kind of like joined forces and they were like, "Okay, we're gonna like send you somewhere." Because I kept going to treatment in Spokane, which like, no offense, but not the greatest places.
Yeah.
And so they were like, maybe if we send her to a really good place, you know? And so I came out to California in 2015 and went to detox. And it was kind of one of those times where I was like, okay, like I've been in treatment quite a few times at this point, you know, and like going to a new place to have to like go to rehab because you can't go to any rehabs in your hometown because you've been to them all, like
Yeah.
is a little much, you know? And so for me, it was kind of like an eye-opening experience to where it's like, okay, now I have to be shipped somewhere because I can't stay sober, you know?
Was that the time in the car with your mom?
No.
Okay, we'll get to that
No,
later.
that was this time.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, um, that period of time in California was the first time in California was extremely of like paramount importance, um, to my recovery without really knowing it until later. But I went into that detox and I met a lot of really great people and I felt really good about it. Especially because I wasn't in my stomping grounds. There was just some sort of like weight that would hang on me when I was in Spokane that was just like I can leave whenever I want.
Yeah, it's right outside. I
Right
know.
here.
Yeah.
Like this is my, you know. And so not knowing where I was like extremely helpful.
Well, can I interject something too?
Yeah.
What I've noticed too about Spokane, a lot of those places are like in rough areas,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
where I'm pretty sure it could be delivered to the front door,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is anywhere. But if you're from there,
Yeah,
right?
it's
So,
just like everybody knows, you know?
yeah.
So, in detox, I met a lot of really great people. I, actually felt, hope for the first time. But what really made me realize that it wasn't just drugs and alcohol was when I left treatment. And I had gotten a naltrexone implant, and for those of you who don't know, a naltrexone implant is an implant that they put in your lower abdomen that releases a drug called naltrexone, and it blocks the opiate receptors in your brain. So if you use heroin or opiates or drink alcohol, you won't feel it. But it is also very dangerous because if you don't feel it and you keep using it, then you can easily overdose. And so I got that thinking like, oh, this is a miracle drug, whatever. I stayed in California for 3 months, started working my steps, started seeing what life I could have, and then went back home with this naltrexone thinking like, this is gonna solve everything. We're good. And the second I got home, after being in California for 3 months, calling my sponsor every day, going to meetings, like learning about this program and being really excited, the second I stepped off the plane, I was loaded again.
Mm.
And I share the naltrexone story a lot because it was really like what pushed everything over the edge and got me sober again, thank God. But I went out on meth because you can feel meth on naltrexone because it's not an opiate. So I
Yeah.
had a loophole, but me being the addict that I am, I can't do meth without heroin. I can't do one without the other.
Even it out.
And so I started using heroin on naltrexone, and I was out on heroin for 8 months, not getting high. I was just dope sick basically for like 8 months. I possibly overdosed twice. I really don't even know, honestly, because I don't remember. um, but that was like the most miserable time of my existence of not even being able to feel a drug, but still needing to do it because of a mental craving beyond my control, you know? As long as the drug is in my veins, it's okay, you know? And I was dope sick for like 8 months basically. And there was a point like at that I turned 21 in August. I had probably been out for 6 months, 7 months at this point, and I had a bag of dirty needles that I would carry around, right? Because like I couldn't afford to get new ones, so I just kept all the old ones, you know? And it was in a Victoria's Secret bag, and I would just carry that around with me. And I had it my dad had let me come home um for the night. It was my birthday, you know. And I was in
Mm.
my old bedroom, and I had a pile of dirty needles in front of me. I was like sifting through them to see which ones were viable that I could use. And because I was doing a rinse because I was sick, but I had been sick for
Mm.
forever. But I had another desperate attempt to try to get loaded. And my dad walked in with like a vase of roses and a birthday card. And I was just sitting there, skinny, skin and bones, picked out with like a pile of dirty needles in front of me.
Mm.
And he like knocked on the door and came in to give me my flowers and wish me a happy birthday. And I said, cool, just set them on the table because I'm doing something.
Mm.
And he set them down and said, happy birthday, babe, and walked out. And that was my first like real moment of clarity. Um, that was like my first moment of clarity because it was kind of just like that moment where it was like, what the fuck am I doing, dude? Like, what am I
Yeah.
actually doing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I had never had such a clear moment of clarity before. Um, but that one was literally one of those ones where like everything stopped, you know? And I was like, I could see myself, like I was looking at myself and I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
you know? And I don't know how soon after that I did this, but I went to my dad and said like, hey dude, you need to ship me away or I'm gonna kill myself out here, you know?
Mm.
And I like had a moment of desperation where I just asked him to like send me away, you know? And we didn't have money. He didn't have any money, like, you know, like to send me to a cash pay detox. Like it was just not happening, you know? But I just told him like, I'm gonna die if you don't like, and I need you to send me somewhere because I can't do it by myself, you know?
And this is with the implant still in you.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I thought about cutting out a couple different times, but I
Yeah.
didn't. My
I
God.
bet you give it a couple more weeks, you might have.
Oh, dude, like the first week that I was home, I was like, I was like talking to my friends about how we were gonna do it. Like we were planning on it, you know?
Yeah.
I
It's
just
because
couldn't afford an infection. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that was the only thing that kept me from doing it.
Yeah.
And so
And especially on math, you're like, the antibiotics will,
I'm all
counter the high I'm gonna have.
out. I just couldn't afford it, dude, you know? But
You know, I've never heard that story.
about my dad?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was
And it was fucked up is because I know your dad.
I know, it's even worse that you know him
It's
now. Huh?
way worse than I know your
my
dad.
dad's like the most precious thing in the world.
Sweetest guy I ever fucking met in my life.
I know.
I mean, but that's the thing about people on the outside of this. Because the love of your dad is unwavering. And the love you have for your mom and your dad and your sister, I mean, that's never changed. It's always been there. But that's how fucking gnarly this shit is.
My sister and I are best friends, best friends, and we didn't talk for like 4 years. I wasn't allowed at her house.
And just so everyone knows, and sorry if this is TMI, but Leah will bawl her eyes out when her mom, her dad, and her sister come to visit and they leave. The second they get in the car to go to the airport, it's all over. It is. And that's, and the thing is, that's what I'm talking about. Like what gets me emotional is because I know that love you have for your family, and to know that you went that long so often, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that's it. And the fact that how beautiful is it now that your relationship with your whole family? I mean, to be honest with you, I never in my life thought I would ever love people as much as I love my family.
Yeah.
Seriously. And so, anywho, can
I continue my story?
Yeah. So tell us about the car ride to the airport.
Okay, so I asked Dad to send me to treatment, like ship me away, whatever. Yeah. It took him a minute, you know what I mean? But because we didn't have, I had been on all these insurance plans, like we did all the things, you know what I mean? And like my like school fund from my great grandma was gone, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like that was all spent on treatment at this point. So my dad found a phone number on the TV.
Sounds like your dad.
And he called it, dude. We're desperate. Like we're desperate at this point, you know? And so, they get us in contact with somebody down here, who was a referent that got me on an insurance plan. And my parents bought me a plane ticket. And I think we bought like 5 plane tickets because
you couldn't get on a plane.
I couldn't get on the fucking plane. I couldn't do it. It was either that I couldn't do it or we would drive there and I'd be like, no, I'm not fucking going because I'm sick and I need it, whatever. But I was sick the whole 8 months. Like it didn't matter. You know what I mean? Just whatever my brain could come up with that would like prevent me from getting on the plane came up. Because it's that window, dude, you know? You have a very short window. And if you don't make it in that window, it's really hard to get
so when
back in there.
That one time you did make it, what was it? What was going on?
One time I did make it. My mom picked me up from the dope house with my grandma in the front seat.
The grandma I met?
Yeah.
Oh, she's so sweet.
I know.
She loves me, by the way.
I know. I was in the back seat and I was trying to hit a vein, dude. I had a shot. I had one more shot. Okay. I had one more shot and a gram of meth in my bra. Okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is it. Like, we're doing it. And I couldn't hit a vein. Couldn't hit a vein for the life of me. My mom had to turn back around and go back to the dope man's house so that somebody could hit me in my neck because I couldn't do that on my own. And so they hit me. Of course, I didn't get high. So I was like, well, this is crazy. But whatever. It was just like, it kind of all worked out, right? To where I was like, okay, like this is just it. You know, I don't have any other options anymore. I can't even get high on my own, you know? And so, yeah, sitting in the backseat trying to hit a vein because I just wanted to hit one more, you know, with my grandma in the front seat and my mom in the driver's seat. And I'm sitting in the back seat with a needle in my arm, like, you know?
Yeah.
And I get to the airport and I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, this is it, Couldn't hit the vein because all my veins are gone. But I just like, I had missed too many flights at this point, and I was like, okay, I'm going. And I remember getting out and hugging my mom, and I was like, Mom, I have this gram of meth in my bra, and I don't know what to do with it. And she was like, just eat it or something. So I ate it, and I got on the plane. This is the worst decision of my life, dude. The longest plane ride I've ever been on.
So this is why you're not scared of airplanes.
Oh, dude.
Because I'm terrified of airplanes, but now I know why you sleep on every
Oh
airplane.
my God, I love
Because
it.
it wasn't that flight.
No, but I was extremely high on the plane, talking to everybody, telling everybody where I'm going. I'm going to rehab. I was stoked about it. I looked like shit. And then I got to Seattle and I had a layover. And in Seattle, I was like calling my mom. I'm like, hey, I'm fucking leaving. I'm just like, I live in Seattle now. Like, it's all good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she had to talk me off the ledge for like, I think I had like a 2-hour layover. I had just turned 21, never set foot in a bar. And she was like, go to the bar. Like, if you're really that sick, go to the bar. Just get drunk. And I like go to the bar and I didn't even know what to order. Like, cause I had just like missed out on that experience, dude. I was just out doing other things.
Yeah.
So I ordered a glass of wine out of all things because I didn't know what I was doing. And
A glass of wine after a gram of meth.
it was so gross too. I couldn't even it was bad. So I took like 2 sips. And then they had the treatment center call me and they were like, we have your meds. And I'm like, oh, that's great. Like, like as long as I have a guaranteed, like I'm not going to feel like shit tonight, I'm going. And yeah, I made it.
I mean, isn't that a common place where treatment centers do step in? They're like, hey, we have a warm bed. We have food here, which you're not interested in really.
No.
But we have a doctor here who's going to help you get comfortable and just make sure you sleep tonight.
Yeah.
Right. Especially when we're coming from places like trap houses or
dude,
hotels or
like,
whatever.
Not really.
So let's go back to what you were talking about earlier about your story. When you look back into where you've come from, what do you think was the most tragic part of your story?
Oh God, the whole thing is really gnarly.
You talked about in your room, right, with your dad with the flowers and stuff like that was probably one of the most defying moments of how you got clean. But was there a moment that you think about often where you're like, that was the worst?
It's never a singular moment,
Yeah.
There's little blips that come up for sure. I mean, looking back at my like addiction in general, it was like, a timeline would be like more how I look at it, right? And even that is kind of skewed, But it would be like, okay, Leah starts using, becomes a prostitute by the age of 17, is in an abusive relationship for 3-4 years. And then I'm just like in this vicious cycle of just like getting loaded and trying to do what I can out there, And so the tragic parts come when I have flashbacks of like being in strangers' basements, like chained to the ceiling, like, doing what I have to do to get loaded, or, being driven by men that I don't know blindfolded because they don't want me to know where their house is.
Yeah.
You know? Waking up in a stranger's bed with, everything stolen and I'm naked. Like, don't know where I am, don't know how I got there.
There's a lot of girls out there right now who might have seen things like that, experienced things like that. If they were watching right now, what would you want to tell them?
There's a fucking way out.
Yeah.
There's a fucking way out.
Yeah.
You know?
And what's their first step, you think, for them? Like if they're in that right now, they're on their phone, they're at home on it's, I don't know, they're seeing maybe someone sent this to them, right? Because they're worried about there's someone's worried about them.
Mhm.
Hey, this girl can do it, right? If this girl can do it, maybe you can. What's their first step?
Just call whatever person is in your life that is healthy,
Mm.
that wants you to get better,
And tell them what?
and tell them I'm ready, and tell them that, I can't do this anymore,
And what if they're not ready?
you know?
What if they feel like they're not ready? Because you talked about, right? You talked about that moment on your bedroom floor with your dad, right? Saying, you got to get me some help. But when you went to the airport, you went
Yeah,
5 times, right?
yeah.
So how does someone know when they're ready, right? When they're still completely possessed by the obsession and the craving.
There's not really a singular moment where you're gonna be ready.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost like if you have anything in you that's saying, I gotta
Mhm.
stop,
Yeah,
and your mind's telling you you're not ready,
yeah,
you still should reach out.
yeah.
Tell
It
them,
doesn't matter how many times
and
you go
that's
to
and
treatment, I
well,
promise.
and that's I mean, that's
You know?
really the whole purpose of our podcast. Is the whole purpose of this podcast is that to be reckless in your recovery is to do action without thinking about it,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
And so it's
It's
and that's I mean
you know?
that's really the whole purpose of our podcast. Is the whole purpose of this podcast is that to be reckless in your recovery is to do action without thinking about it,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
And so it's about abandoning all things that's in your brain and just and your feet just going. And that's what
mhm.
you're talking about. You might have that friend or that family member or that homegirl you met in treatment 3 years ago,
Yeah,
right? And all it takes is a phone call or a text like, "Hey, I'm out here.
yeah.
This is where I'm at. Know my location. I want to get help. Do you have any contacts? Do you know of any medical places that have beds open? Do you have any resources for me?"
Mhm,
And that's why I do leave a helpline at the end of this call. It's not just for programs that I know, it's for anyone. They can
mhm,
call and find out information of places they can, in their area. Um, at our helpline, we help people find out medical programs, testing sites, you know, um, we help them find providers in the area that can refer them to somewhere that's local. And then we also have places that we know that we trust that take good care of people like you and I. But
mhm,
the reason why I asked that question is because it doesn't have to be this moment where, because everyone's bottom is different, right? And a
mhm.
lot of the times that I hear people tell their story, it's not so much, I was there and I knew I had to call, so I called. It's usually like,
Yeah,
things are a mess. They've been a mess.
yeah.
And I'm not ready for the mess to be over, but I saw this video or
Mhm,
I ran into this person at the liquor store or
mhm,
I stumbled into a meeting and I met it's always something that I'm in my chaos and something comes across like this.
mhm.
And either I reach out and
Or you
just
don't. Or
or
you
I
don't
don't.
even see that
Or
shit.
exactly. Or I mean, because think about all the windows of willingness you probably could have had,
Yeah, yeah.
but they weren't the ones that were. So we just want to create as many moments as we can,
Mhm.
because even people out there at the Vagabond right now have Obama phones and they got Instagram because
Yeah.
people are ordering drugs on Snapchat, on Facebook Marketplace, right?
Mhm.
So that's where we're gonna be talking about this, right?
Yeah.
Because they might see something and 2 weeks later be like, "What was that video? I liked it. I want to go back." I'm just saying it might be so. Um, I think that's incredible part of your journey that you told somebody in your life, "I'm
Mhm.
ready," when you weren't ready.
Yeah.
But because you said that, they knew, okay, we're getting close.
Mhm.
And so I bet you if you hadn't have said that and they just came and got you,
Mhm.
you might not have gone.
Well, I also too think about like when I got to treatment, I was an inpatient for 33 days.
Mm,
And I threw a fit every fucking morning, dude. Like I was like leaving
mhm,
every morning. I woke up and wanted to leave, you know? And I packed my suitcase and I would go to the office and say, "Okay, give me my meds," you know?
mhm,
and then someone would talk me down. Someone was there to talk me down. And then it just got gradually easier, and I still wasn't planning on staying sober either, you know? And I think that's also the problem, like, for me, not the problem, but the issue that I ran into all the time with treatment is I would be great in treatment when I stayed, you know? I got therapy, I got 3 meals, I got a bed to sleep in, I got cool people around me, like, you know, I got all these things, but, like, what am I gonna do out there, you know?
Yeah.
And I was ill prepared every time, usually to my own doing, because I wasn't willing to open my.
Yeah, because people would probably tell you, hey, you gotta have a sponsor, you gotta have
Yeah, I'm
steps.
like, "Yeah, cool,
Yeah,
that
cool,
is
right on.
fucking whatever, it doesn't apply to me."
Yeah.
Doesn't apply to me, I'm different.
I think if people really, I think it's why sometimes, like we had Kayla on the podcast, right?
Mhm.
She had been through treatment many times,
Mhm.
and it had to be like that 10th time where
Yeah.
it was like, okay, I've done literally everything
Yeah, but everything
but
else.
this.
Exactly, yeah.
So maybe the people who are telling me this in meetings are right about it. And I mean, when I came to detox, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but when I came back from Australia and I got into treatment, I got high for a month in sober living, waiting for my insurance to kick in. My parents got a policy for me, and they said, we found a nice sober living for you to just to kind of be, because I wasn't allowed to be at home. Like they were like, you can't stay with us.
Mhm.
You're a fucking mess. So they paid for a month of sober living and dropped me off with groceries. That was my most common humbling moment, is because I found myself on curbs waiting to be picked up by a rehab,
Mhm.
or on the like doorsteps of rehab with a gallon of milk and bread and like peanut, like just like a
Yeah.
random assortment of things that my loved ones said this will do,
Yeah.
right? And then some stranger comes and says, hey, I'm going to help save your life, and I'm like, sick,
Yeah.
you don't know shit about me,
Yeah.
and I always found loopholes in people's stories about how, see, I'm nothing like them,
Yeah.
even though everything I do is just like them.
Yeah.
I find these reasons, and my shit manufacturer just manufactures more shit. So when I finally got into detox, those my first real sober moments, and I was so unokay with myself. I'll never forget this. Like you said, you were combative and like a wreck every day.
Yeah.
I was quiet. They thought I
It's
left.
even worse.
One day they thought I left
Yeah.
because I was on the backyard. There's like a barbecue thing, and I was under the barbecue thing because everyone was asking me for cigarettes, and I only had a few, and I literally I had nothing. No, my
Yeah.
family had told me that they were done.
Mhm.
I had lost everything I had in another country.
Yeah.
I was so full of shame and guilt, the fact that I couldn't hide how fucked up I was.
Mhm.
They literally found me under the barbecue in the backyard. They said, hey, bud, you want to come out and join us for dinner? You've been missing for 6 hours. And I literally just sat there for like hours. And I'll never forget something that, because when you're actually living something, you actually can't see it from
Yeah.
you're just in it.
Yeah.
Because the only thing I kept thinking about was I was on the 3rd floor. And the only thing that was literally on the forefront of my brain every day was, if I jump from this balcony, I could live and be paralyzed and never be able to kill myself.
Yeah.
Or I might have to live here, or I might have to live paralyzed or something. I don't know if it'll work,
Yeah.
And I didn't tell anyone.
Yeah.
And like you said, when we went to treatment, there was always someone there to talk you down, right?
Yeah.
And I remember being upstairs one night, and I heard my therapist arguing with the medical team
Mhm.
and whoever does like the levels of care and everything. I could hear her from upstairs arguing, saying, Greyson can't leave this yet. He needs to be here longer.
Mhm.
And they said, he's been here for 35 days. And she goes, he's going to kill himself.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell her
Yeah.
shit. Right. And somehow in that moment, I felt like there could be somebody out there, or there could be people that don't understand me, that I can't relate to,
Mhm.
or that might be able to help me,
Mhm.
And I stayed there another 10 days. I was like in residential, like longer than anyone I've ever known for
Yeah.
detox, right? Or residential. And I'll never forget her battling for me a fight that I never wanted to win.
Mhm.
And I will never forget that moment. And I survived the residential program, and I stepped down, and I remember my roommate took me to he advocated. I wasn't allowed to leave because I'd already left like 5 times. Like I was unsafe to leave with people because I would just dip, you know?
Yeah.
I would just start walking and they would come find me, and then they do the same thing. They would like ACA block me and
Yeah.
ground me. The owner, the owner of this program would pick me up himself and take me to like a Mexican food restaurant and like have a talk with me. You know,
Yeah.
he took me to the beach one day.
Those are like the best ones, you
I
know?
know,
Had
I
her just
know.
down to like break the
And
rules a
I'm
little
such a
bit.
sick fuck in my head. I'm like, this guy's just a greasy car salesman. Like
Yeah, dude.
he just wants my insurance money and whatever.
I
But
know.
you know what? He would like take me to the beach and sit me down and be like, look at this out here. And I'm like, yeah, this place is fucked. You know what I mean? And he's
Yeah.
like, no, look it. You know, I was like, dude, nobody wants me.
Yeah.
I've ruined my life again. I have nothing. I failed college. I got arrested again in Australia. I have no music. I have no dreams. I have nothing. I have no whatever. And he'd always try to tell me, hey, you know, look at the other side of things. You could be walking into something new. And I'm just so sick still. That's why I talk about, you know, I try to bring up, I don't think that AA is necessarily the only way, you
Mhm.
know, just from my experience. I needed to get down to like causes and conditions
Mhm.
because I needed to be broken down for me in a way where I can digest it.
Yeah.
Because if you come at me like 30 days sober and you're like, you need to surrender and you need to hit your knees every day. And all I'm going to be thinking about is don't bring your religion shit to me.
For sure.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
not joining your fucking cult. Okay.
Yeah.
Because those are the conversations I would have with people.
Yeah.
Not interested. But when people started saying, hey, you all right? Wherever you're at right now, it's totally cool. Sit
Mhm.
down and listen, and maybe you'll hear something you relate to, and maybe you'll hear something that's helpful for you. And it probably took 30 something meetings before
Mhm.
I heard something where I was like, oh, okay, I can relate to that for sure. And then those 30 meetings turned into 60, and 60 turned into 90. And then when I got out of treatment, I didn't have anywhere to go. My parents didn't want me to come home. They wanted me to figure it out.
Mhm.
And that was the best thing my parents ever did for me
Yeah.
because my treatment center was like, okay, you've been a tough one. I think I was blocked from leaving like 13 times or something like that. And this was the time where they were saying, okay, goodbye.
Mhm.
And I was like, right.
Right.
Yeah, sure. And so I found a sober living on Craigslist. I had got a job. My first job was the security guard at the AA Alano Club. I made $800 a month and my rent was $650 at this sober living that I found on Craigslist. This house was basically a trap house. I had my own room. I've told you about this,
Mhm.
right? And I will never forget. And to be honest, nowadays, and I look back on it, I'm super grateful
Mhm.
because if my parents had given me any leniency or helped me or co-signed my thinking that they could help me, then I would not be here today. I had to realize that no one could help me but me admitting defeat to what I was facing, which was I was a selfish, self-centered piece of shit who took anything, everything I could in front of you or behind your back just to feel 1 degree differently from what I'm feeling right now, you know? And um I don't know, I think any addict can relate to that, you know? Did you ever go to adolescent treatment?
Yeah. I went to adolescent treatment at
What was that
least
like?
3 or 4 times.
Really?
Adolescent treatment was very interesting. Because you're a lockdown facility, you know,
Mhm.
like lockdown, like you can't leave. And I ran away so many times. So this one time, I'm in treatment. I'm in adolescent treatment. My mom came to pick me up for court. That's what happened.
Mm.
Came to pick me up for court, and we go to the courthouse, and she didn't have her phone on her, and she was letting me call my boyfriend at the time,
Mhm.
and who was like not somebody I should be calling for sure.
Yeah.
But she was, not really sure how to navigate this yet, so she was letting me call him. So we're in the courthouse, we're waiting for my name to be called on the docket to go in. This is for something like petty theft or something like that. I don't even know at this point. And so we're waiting and waiting, and it was taking a really long time. And I'm like, hey, mom, can I have your keys so I can go call so and so out in the car? And she's like, yeah, sure. And like gave me her keys. And I fucking left, dude. I left my mom at the courthouse,
Yeah.
ran away. I'm intrigued. Like, so, okay. So I run away, go meet up with my boyfriend. We're all sketched out. I'm fucking high already within 20 minutes of leaving the courthouse. I'm loaded, And so we're all sketched out because I have my mom's car and the cops are looking for us. And so we leave the car with the keys on the wheel, well, whatever. And I like tell her where it's at. And I have these people in this treatment center like messaging me on Facebook saying, like, we're not, if you come back, like, it's gonna be okay. Like, we're not gonna get you in trouble. Like, if you just come back,
Mhm.
And I remember just being like, nah, I'm good. I'm so good. Just like in the basement of the trap house that I was gonna be staying at. You know what I mean? Just like I'm chilling. And like it's that like veil of denial, I like to call it, because it's literally like you're wearing a veil. You can't fucking see. You can't differentiate the true from the false. And like that denial runs deep, dude, when you're out there.
Yeah,
You
you can
know?
convince yourself of anything.
Yeah, nothing matters. It doesn't matter. You're in denial. You're not hurting anybody but yourself. It's chill.
I also know that you had some toxic relationships while you were out there getting loaded.
Yeah.
Are there any stories you want to share with us about that?
I met my ex-boyfriend when I was probably like 17, maybe 16. It was like right in the beginning of everything. And he was a dealer. So, had to get in on that as fast as I could. And he kind of was like my protector in a way,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like in that lifestyle. Um, I was extremely codependent from the very beginning. Not just because he had what I needed, but because he knew what to do, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Yeah.
Like I was like the rich kid. I mean, we weren't rich, but we were from a rich neighborhood. I was the rich kid from Mead,
Mm-hmm.
like hanging out with the dope dealer. Like I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. And so the relationship was immediately toxic from the very beginning, and I was extremely codependent throughout our entire relationship. And we came to a point where we're like robbing houses together and doing all this crime together. And he decides to convince me to like post on Backpage, and so that happened when I was 17. And so it was just like, it was more so of a relationship of like, I need you and you need something that I have too. And I think that I was probably with him for like 3 years. My time is very skewed, so that could be wrong, but probably with him for about 3 years. And throughout that 3 years, it was like constant abuse mentally, physically, and emotionally, not all in that order. But going through that in a drug fueled environment, like that's what you're gonna get.
Mm-hmm.
It's like super simple to like get put into those positions, especially when my behavior is shitty too. I don't know how to stand up for myself. I don't know what's right and wrong. I don't know. Nothing matters as long as you have what I need.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't have what I need, then things are going to get weird. And
Yeah.
so I use that relationship as a crutch throughout my addiction because he had what I needed most of the time.
Yeah.
you know? And it's traumatic when somebody that you're so codependently attached to then disappears. Now looking back at that, it was literally the biggest blessing I could have ever asked for. Thank God, you know? But that relationship kept me really tied up in my addiction, you know? Not saying that it was a cause or anything like that, but it was definitely
it's like a condition of your
addiction.
Yeah.
And looking back on it now, it's just like so difficult when you're so dependent on somebody that you know.
Yeah.
And the reason why I talk about it in that way is because there's probably a lot of women out there that are in that situation right now, you know?
Yeah.
And like, for me, it made me feel as though I was useless and not capable of living without him. Literally.
Yeah.
So when I would go into treatment, which he was supportive of, because as long as I was like sober, he didn't have to take care of me, you know? And so when I would go into treatment, I would have the hardest time staying in there because I felt so empty and alone without him, you know? And it became extremely difficult for me to try to better myself. Not that I was ready when we were together anyway, but if I look back at like the timeline, if I had stayed with him, I don't think I would have made it out. You know? I know I wouldn't have made it out.
Yeah.
Because I know where he is now.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like things had happened where I thought that these things or these people or these places were getting taken from me, when really they were getting taken from me to open the door for something different. But I just didn't know yet, you know?
Yeah. I almost was on the tail end of it in a different light, because I was in a really toxic relationship in my addiction as well. I was in a few of them, but one of them in particular was just fueled by getting loaded and surviving off of each other's hope that today's going to be the best day we've ever had. Getting loaded.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
Today it's going to happen. We're going to get it, and it's going to be... So when you exit situations like that, it's almost like kind of making an abusive relationship is almost like making a cave a home, you know?
Yeah.
And thinking that tomorrow we're going to have windows in this cave.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we're going to have more light coming in through the hole in the mountain.
It's going to be better.
It's going to be better. And maybe tomorrow we can figure all this out together. But tomorrow never comes because we're living off of each other's conditions.
Yeah.
And the trauma that happens in those conditions bond us closer together with all the wrong ways, and then you can't untangle it, right?
Yeah.
And it takes years and years and years after the fact to dissect that and to find out what a healthy attachment looks like, what a healthy, lovable action looks like, right? We've even experienced that in our relationship. In our own ways, we're constantly trying to learn how to, you know, give love, receive affirmations. And, you know, for me, it was like you said that your relationship left, right? And then it was one of the best things ever. And for me, unfortunately, for one of the instances of the most toxic relationship I've ever been in was finding her dead.
Yeah.
Right. And then telling myself, well, this is it. You got to figure things out and this life is over. And then hours later, doing the same thing I did before.
Yeah.
Right. And then 4 more years
Yeah.
of getting loaded till actually doing something different. But we find those things, and I think there's a lot of people in recovery too who probably get into relationships, right, that are similar to the ones when they're getting loaded.
Yeah.
Right. And that is the most common condition of sobriety that I know for a lot of people, is that all of our self-esteem and all of our self-worth still craves the same fix it had when we're getting loaded. Right. So, has it been difficult for you to have a healthy type of relationship in sobriety?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of unlearning that you do when you step into a healthy space, with somebody else. I think there's a lot of behaviors that you carry with you that you don't realize are damaging, until they are. And then you're like, oh, fuck, I actually like this person. I don't want this to affect it, right?
Yeah.
I think that you and I have seen that with a lot of different things where it's we do things that may hurt each other or might not feel right, and then we step back and say, okay, let me look at my part in this, which is not fucking something I was doing before, dude. I didn't even have the capacity to even know I had a part in it,
Well, yeah, because you just said it, right? There's a new attachment.
Totally.
Oh, I don't want this to go away, but I have all this other shit
that I have to pick through to
trim and that's what it looks like. Honestly, I mean,
it's
I don't want to get into too much of a relationship.
I'm it's gnarly.
Because we're not that couple who posts on social media about everything. No. But I think out there's a lot of people in our circle who watch this, right? And
for sure. Yeah.
And I think it's encouraging to tell people that if you're able to put your program first and foremost, you can walk through anything. And if there's 2 people doing that, right, there's hope.
Yeah, for sure.
But if one is and one's not, I've never been a part of a relationship like that that's worked. It's always...
Yeah, it's not.
And this is only, this is...
This is the only healthy relationship I've ever
I know, me too. It's
whether that's from me too, right?
Yeah.
Whether I was the unhealthy one too. I'm not saying everybody I've been with is unhealthy. I've been fucking unhealthy a lot too.
Yeah. And for most of my sobriety, I was unhealthy in relationships, right? So
this is my first time being healthy, the healthy one too, in a relationship too.
Yeah.
So let's just say that.
Yeah, because I have made strides in other relationships, I'm doing better. But that's not, you know what I'm saying? That's not really the goal. The goal is to okay, if I can continuously be willing to be humbled and grow and admit when I'm wrong and admit that, like you said, I need to be able to admit that I got to work on this. This is a me thing. This has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, it's me.
Will you give me the space to work through this?
Right.
And if you're able to give that to one another, there's hope. At least, I mean, if you're as fucked up as I am with relationships, and I'm not going to speak for you, but for many times before our relationship, I was just taking. It was all about just taking. So when I start to step out, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And that's what gets me all fucked up, is that I look at you and know all of the things you've gone through, and I feel undeserving of being able to be that man in your life to show you that someone loves you and is not going to take advantage of you and respect you and try to protect all the great things that God's given you in your life. Right. And so I think for even better conversations for people in recovery, we see it all the time, but I think we do a really good job of keeping our relationship kind of sacred. We don't have to rely on other people's viewpoints of our relationship to feel good about it. We accept that we're a hot mess 90% of the time. And then we get to live life happy, joyous, and free together the 10% of the time.
Yeah.
And at some point, just maybe, like, we'll be able to look back and laugh and look back and, but the only way that that's possible, and I don't know if you feel the same way, but from what I understand, the only way that's possible is if our sponsees, right? We have a rule. Sponsees come before dates and before events and
Mhm.
whatever, and meetings and spiritual reliance and progress,
Mhm.
right? And I don't know. I just want to say that for people who might be listening, right?
Mhm.
And as far as after after you've gotten recovery and you've been sober, right? Tell me something that has carried on into your sobriety from your addiction that you still have to work on.
Yeah. We talked about like being in an abusive relationship, and I definitely feel as though that is something that I've had to work on probably like every day of my life. Just like unlearning these types of behaviors. When I was with this person, um we were extremely toxic together, drug-fueled relationship that, just sorry. Drug-fueled relationship, just like the worst, right? Like just not doing hot out there.
Yeah.
And
Daily trauma.
yeah, yeah. And in this relationship, it was very much teaching me subconsciously or like super verbally that I was just worth nothing, that I was always a problem that had to be dealt with, you know? And so I changed the way that I looked, I changed the way that I dressed, I changed the music that I listened to. I changed all of these things just so I could be this perfect little thing for this person. And so going through this relationship, I was completely codependent on this person for a couple years at least. And then a few years into our relationship, he ended up cheating on me with one of my friends. Um Probably one of the only friends that I actually had, because she was the one person that I knew that he didn't know. You know what I mean? It
Hmm.
was like I had that one person. And when he cheated on me with her and I found out, I would drive him to her house and drop him off to spend the night and pick him up the next day because I didn't know any other way. Without him, I didn't know what to do, you know?
Hmm.
And that kept going for a while until he completely broke it off. And then maybe a year later, that friend ended up dying from a heroin overdose. And I felt that experience put so much sadness, but also a realization of like, this shit is real, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, at the time, I didn't really see that until I started making my amends later. But these types of experiences that I had with this person were embedded in my like every fiber of my being.
Hmm.
The way I act towards people, the way I respond to people, the way I am in relationships, my emotional state, um, my self control. All of these things were embedded in this relationship. And so when that was gone, that's really when I hit my bottom in my addiction for sure. Thank God now, looking
Yeah.
back. But in my sobriety, I've carried a lot of those same traits over into my romantic relationships, my regular relationships, my relationships with women, all of these things that are so tied up in this relationship that I've carried over into my sobriety that I've had to literally untie thread by thread, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm still doing it. I still do it. I have issues in our relationship that come up that I'm like, this is literally, I want to say his name, but I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
This is literally from that time.
But you know that I know, right?
Oh, I know.
Like, that when
I know.
you're having that moment or
Yeah.
you're looking at, and I'm like, I'm me.
Yeah.
I love you.
Yeah.
That is not what's happening here.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
I'll do it a million times, honey,
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a traumatic event that lasted for 5 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and it was just one after the other.
Well, you keep saying like 3 years, but it's like 20 years.
I felt like forever.
Because remember,
It felt like my whole life.
street years is different in linear years, right?
Seriously.
2 years on the street is like 5 years.
Yeah.
And 5 years on the street is like 10.
Yeah.
So just double it,
Yeah.
What's a message you want to share with other women who maybe are new to recovery, who have gone through the same things you've gone through or similar things,
Mhm.
who are discouraged or who find it hard to relate to others or find themselves still kind of battling behaviors? They're sober, they got a sponsor, they're going to meetings, in their first year sober, right?
Yeah.
What's any type of direction you would give those young women or old women?
Yeah, there's so many things that are going through my head, but like the simplest direction, I feel like I'm thinking like going back to me when I was
Yeah.
in my first year.
Yeah.
And that direction is to do the absolute best you can on this round of steps,
Mhm.
Just do your fucking steps and like get through your steps, okay? That's
Yeah.
all you got to do first. Just do that. And then on your next round of steps, it's going to be gnarly.
Yeah.
But just do your fucking steps. Like, just do your steps.
Yeah.
That's
And
all. That's literally all the direction that I could give somebody because that's what's going to set you free,
and we're letting you know that we know that every part of your being is going to tell you not to.
Just fucking do.
It's like Shia LaBeouf. Just do it.
Dude, it's like so.
Yeah.
So, because when I started doing my steps, like the first time around, it was so. I don't want to say that I wasn't putting effort in.
Just do your fucking steps, dude. No, okay.
I don't want to say that I wasn't putting effort into them because I was for that time.
Yeah,
Like
minimal
where
effort.
I was for
Yeah.
sure. But
what else in your life had you actually done any hard work towards in your life at
nothing,
all? Nothing.
Literally nothing.
So we
except
know
for
that.
Getting dope.
Yeah.
And that shit wasn't,
and that's why a lot of us say, hey, like you literally robbed 3 KFCs and took money out of the bucket at the AA meeting, stole your dad's first wedding ring and all this stuff to get one more bag, right?
Do that.
I know you did.
I did that.
I know. But you did all this work. That's why we say if you use 10% of that effort into your steps, you will have a return of investment, spiritual investment.
Yeah.
Right? You might just get one more day without a craving or an obsession. And that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because the days that we were out there, we never lived without it. And now that you've been given a handful of days without it, invest in it.
Yeah.
Literally throw yourself into it.
Yeah.
That's why, that's another reason why we're called what we're called. Right. And so, you and I on a weekly and sometimes daily basis, because we know each other better than anyone else and we live with each other, we know that we don't want to go to a meeting.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, I'm sorry.
Go, dude.
It's been years that we've been seeing each other and I've never once heard Leah say or heard me say, I can't wait to go to my meeting. And that's because it is a constant maintenance. Yeah. It's a constant reprieve. It's a constant.
It's like having to get your oil changed is literally the worst fucking thing in the world, but you have to do it.
Yeah. But I've never.
You have to do that like multiple times a week.
So just to be clear, never once have we ever said, I can't wait to go to my home group this week, or I can't wait to show up for my commitment. I can't wait to work with my sponsee on my day off.
Yeah.
But I have never once heard her or I say after, I regret it.
Yeah. No,
I regret that.
I'm literally so much happier after.
We're so grateful and thankful that we showed up, because if you do that long enough, sometimes it's a month, sometimes it's 6 months. Some of us, like me, it took 3 years. Mm-hmm. But once you do it enough times and you get that return, okay, I'm out of myself and I feel great and I feel open-minded and I feel serenity. Yeah. I now know what it's going to take to maintain long-term sobriety. Right. I cannot let up on this. I need to keep showing up. I need to keep being available to newcomers. And if I do this for a long enough time, just maybe those promises will come true for me. And they have.
Yeah.
I never, ever thought I'd ever live in a place like we live. I never once thought I was able to hold something and keep it.
Yeah.
And also, I never thought I'd have a child.
Yeah.
And I have a beautiful 7-year-old girl who loves me and I love her. And she's never seen me loaded. Right.
Mm.
And I never thought I would ever meet another girl's parents and consider them my
And
parents.
love them.
And love them. I've definitely thought I'd have like in-laws someday that I hated.
Yeah.
But I never thought I love another set of parents like I love my own parents.
Mm-hmm.
And I lastly never thought I'd be in a relationship with somebody like I am with you.
Yeah.
Tell me more about the good stuff. Tell me more stories about your redemption.
Yeah. So after treatment, I went into a sober living owned by a woman named Brenda.
Oh, love Brenda.
And when I got there, I was super, super not trying to stay.
Yeah.
Even though like I had just gone through all the shit and I like feel, like pretty strong. I'm like feeling good. Like I still want to go back because I still have this fucking sickness in my head that I haven't treated yet.
Well, and just remember, most of us that go to sober living, we walk in and say, this is temporary.
This is yes.
It wasn't for you.
Yeah, for sure. No, I
Yeah.
was like, fuck this, dude. So Brenda, God bless her soul. I love her so much.
She's the best.
She literally just like took me under her wing, dude. Like I stayed in that sober living, that specific one. I went to 2 different ones that were owned by Brenda, and the first one, she just like told me what to do, dude. And there was like a point where I was like, cool, my insurance ran out. I can't afford to be here. I'm going to go home. And she was like, no, you're not. Like, that's just not what's happening, dude. Like, and I was just like, okay, I don't know what possessed me to just say, okay, but I literally had no other option. So, so she took me, my insurance ran out, couldn't afford to stay anymore. And she took me over to her cash-based sober living, where she taught me how to be a house manager, and I house managed for her for like 4 years. I was in sober living for like 4 years, and she literally showed me how to be a woman of grace and dignity in Alcoholics Anonymous, and like showed me what to do every step of the way. I would call her when I needed help. She wasn't my sponsor. She probably should have been, but it was like not necessarily. It was like conflict of interest. But she literally walked with me through all sorts of shit, dude. And then like at almost a year sober, I decided to take a sip of a beer at a wedding and not tell anybody. And I literally went insane for like 6 months because I didn't tell anybody. And I went to her. She was the first person I went to when I decided like I can't fucking do this or I'm gonna get loaded. And she was like, cool, change your sobriety today. And I was like, cool, I'll do that. Whatever. She just like showed me what to do. She took me by the hand and led me out of the darkness, And
you didn't feel any judgment from her.
No, dude. She's
totally
like, this is literally what we do. I'm not surprised at all.
This is what we walk with every day.
Yeah. And so I managed a sober living for like 4 years. I learned how to like not necessarily manage people because, it's not really easy to do that. But she taught, I learned how to, I learned how to like be accountable, but also have people be accountable to me too. And that was crazy. And then I just like learned about myself so much in that sober living. And then when it was time to move out, I moved in with Brenda and her husband, and it was like the next step into, adulthood. It felt like,
right? Yeah,
independence for sure. And like Brenda and her husband Ken, like, literally took care of me. Like I call them mom and dad. They're like my second parents. They're my California parents, and like they just walked with me through all the shit, dude, and like told me what to do. Ken taught me how to open a bank account. He told me how to get a credit card, how to build my credit. Like he taught me all these things that I didn't know because I was out getting loaded when I was supposed to learn them, And so I stayed with them for I think like another 3 years. And in those, 6-7 years, I was an active member, am still an active member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I went through my steps twice. Well, I've been through my steps like 4 times now, but and like slowly but surely like doing the right things I started like gaining my relationships back. And that was like the first thing that came was like relationships, you know? And then I started, I got a job, like my first job ever pretty much. Like I never worked when I was getting loaded. So got my first job and like I started like making an income and I was still going to meetings every day and then I started making relationships with other women and I found a home group that scared the shit out of me, but it was literally the best thing that has ever like come about in my recovery, and like I started building these relationships with people around me that taught me new things. And like I started building my relationship with my family. And today, like me and my sister see each other every 8 weeks. Like we fly to, she wants to come see me. Like,
Yeah.
and that's fucking unreal because I wasn't allowed at her house when I
Yeah,
went into treatment.
your family comes out several times a year.
Yeah, my parents come and see me. They come and stay at a house that I live in. Like,
Yeah.
they trust me with keys to their apartment. When I go home to visit, they trust me with their car. Like these are so material things, but things that meant so much because they used to have to hide the keys under the mattress when they went to sleep,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
because I would steal it.
Yeah.
And so,
And they don't hold anything that you did against you
no, which is crazy, dude.
because you
Which
stole
is crazy.
some crazy shit.
I stole literally everything from them.
Yeah.
Wedding rings, anniversary rings, all of it's gone. All of their jewelry is gone. Guns are gone.
Mm.
Well, my dad got his back apparently, so
Yeah, he
that's
did get
great,
one back.
but whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I stole everything from them, including their peace of mind though, and that was like the biggest one.
Yeah.
And so like when I was 25, I worked in treatment for a couple years. I'm super jaded from that, but also like I don't really want to say that on this
You're
podcast.
okay.
But I worked in treatment for like 3 or 4 years. Learned a lot about myself and about other people too and where I don't want to be
Yeah.
again because working in detox is gnarly. And when I was 25, I decided to quit my job and go to hair school. You know?
Yeah.
And like I went to hair school and took a risk and now I'm a business owner.
You're an independent
I'm an
business owner.
independent stylist. I have an LLC today. Like,
Yeah.
I pay my taxes.
Yeah. You have
Um,
a superb credit score as well.
oh yeah, I do. I do
Yeah.
have that.
Yeah. Like
I
better
worked
than
really
me.
hard.
And I own like several
I
businesses
worked
and
really hard
have
for that.
cars and houses. It's
Yeah, I
crazy.
worked really hard for that.
You worked very hard. And just so everyone knows, Leah specializes in vivid hair color, but she's an amazing hairstylist. And she's in Orange County, California. I'm gonna be in this video. I'm gonna be collaborating with you on Instagram, so it will show up in this area here. And if you guys want to hear more of her story, she has this amazing way of rejuvenating hair, doing complete makeovers, fixing hair that's been messed up by somebody else or at home. If people used box dye, she's worked miracles. Don't come to her for that though. Sorry. But
Like, yeah,
she's
don't do that. No, I'm just kidding.
amazing. And as you see her hair, she's a vivid hair specialist. Check out her Instagram. It's Leah. It's hair by Leah. So hair.x.leah on Instagram. And her pinned video I helped you make. But Leah is an amazing hairstylist and she's located in Orange County, California. And if you want to hear more about her story and get your hair done, you could DM her on Instagram. So as we're closing with the podcast, what's one last thing you want to share with everyone?
So AA has given me a life beyond my wildest dreams, as everybody says, because it's so true. I have an amazing sponsor that has walked me through so much shit. Not even just like my past life stuff, but like trauma stuff too. Um, and like I have people that I call every day today that like want to hear from me, and that's like something that's like beyond my wildest dreams right there, dude.
Yeah.
Um, and I just want to say that if you're out there struggling, keep struggling until you're ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and there's not really going to be a perfect time for you to do it. So when you get that inkling of even like the slightest bit of wanting something different, just fucking act on it, because that might be all you get, you know?
Leah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, The Reckless Recover. I can tell you right now, you're going to be asked to come again by the comment section. Not just because you're the most beautiful girl I've ever seen, but because you have an incredible story. You have a great message, and it's easy to schedule you because we live together. Thank you for joining us on the Reckless Recover podcast.